Are you looking to build an exceptional team? Our hiring toolkit bundle at luannigara.com/store is your comprehensive source for success. Craft compelling job descriptions, know the right interview questions to ask, and implement a thorough evaluation process so you get the right person. These were developed in collaboration with my cousin Eileen Hahn and based on her 40 years of experience in building exceptional teams, plus my insights from 1,000 plus interviews. Our toolkits are tested and proven. Whether you're scaling from 1 to 3 or from 3 to 10 or from 10 to 20, the Hiring Toolkit Bundle provides the guidance that you can use to plan your hiring strategy effectively. Go to luannigara.com/store and invest in your success by investing in the success of your team. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Today, we're tackling a challenge that we have heard more than a few times, and that is how to build a design business with intention, even when you're still figuring out what your niche is. Now, before I get to that, I want to be sure you know about My Doma Studio. You know, the designers I talk with who use My Doma Studio say to me all the time, I wish I started using it sooner. That's what they say. Because it's the complete designer toolkit that they didn't know they needed. My Doma Studio simplifies project management, organizes client communication, and takes the stress out of staying on top of everything. It's designed by a designer for designers, so it fits seamlessly into the way you work. Want to join the ranks of your colleagues who've streamlined their businesses and boosted their profitability? Head to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business and get 20% off your first 3 months. Make today the day you start working smarter, not harder. How about that? All right. Now, my guest today is Hannah Goldberg, founder of Hannah Charlotte Interiors in the DC area. Hannah has built what she calls a no-niche niche. Hannah works across multiple design styles from mountain lodges to modern condos. Despite the differences in aesthetics, she is crystal clear on her design ethos and exactly who her ideal client is. Before starting her firm 4 years ago, Hannah spent years designing massive amenity packages for luxury apartment buildings all over the country, going from dirt on the ground to fully realized spaces that had to speak to completely different demographics. This experience taught her how to flex her design muscles for different target markets, and now she brings that skill to residential clients who want spaces tailored for exactly how they want to live. We at WindowWorks have been lucky enough to work with Hannah on the 2025 Mansion in May project right here in New Jersey. So we know firsthand how thoughtful she is about every design decision. But here's what grabbed my attention about Hannah and why I knew I wanted to have her on the show. In her pitch to be a guest, she wrote, I want to teach your podcast audience how to navigate the tricky time at the beginning of a career where you are starting out before you've truly carved out a niche, but you still want to attract your ideal client. I read that line and I thought, man, Hannah, if you've got that solved, we can all just go home, right? So today, Hannah's going to break down how she navigated that yes era, that time of your business when you're saying yes to everything, but still trying to build towards something specific. She's going to share how she approaches it with her portfolio shots, how she got strategic with her website imagery, her social media, her newsletter, all the things. All right? I am so happy to introduce you to Hannah. Hey, Hannah, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation for all the reasons. Like I said in the intro, you and your business, and the fact that we've been lucky enough at WindowWorks to do the mansion in May with you. But all of that is interesting and good. It's because I've been getting to know you over the last couple of months. But I love what you put in your pitch, that you said, I always, every once in a while I read the line, right? It's like the opening line gets me, right? It says, I want to teach your podcast audience how to navigate the tricky time at the beginning of a career where you are starting out before you truly carved out a niche, but you still want to attract your ideal client. And I'm just like, Hannah, if you can answer that question, my work is done. We can close up the podcast. We can just go home. I can go to the beach and just do beach yoga.
Oh, that sounds so lovely.
So little job on your plate here, but let's see. So what does that mean for you? I love that, because I think you obviously understand this is a true pain point, right?
Yes. So, what that means to me really was I knew when I started my company, when I first had my professional website done, I didn't have imagery, right? I didn't have projects. I was working on getting that professional photography. Um, I had these smaller starting out projects like you do. You're kind of in that yes area. You're saying yes, 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 but it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And maybe it doesn't truly speak to you. So you have to find ways to share that aesthetic. Your website needs to emanate it, even if it's not all in a big fancy portfolio page. Your social media page needs to reflect what you want that to be showing to your future clients. Your Pinterest, people are following you on Pinterest, what you're clipping, what you're showing, what you're saving, that needs to be, all of these tools that we have at our disposal can speak for you before your portfolio can speak for itself.
Okay. So pulling that apart, what you're saying is that maybe the entire room, the full room shot, you're sort of like, not really the kind of thing that I want to say, call me for more of this. But maybe there is an angle or a vignette, or there is a story attached to maybe an angle or vignette that isn't meant necessarily so compelling, but combined with the story or the problem that you solved with it, then it becomes a good piece of content that you're able to sort of eke out the message to the ideal client. Is that what you're talking about, Hannah?
Yeah, that's a really good way to summarize it. If a little corner of the room that you're so proud of is perfect, grab that shot, post that shot.
Mm-hmm.
My very first portfolio page was vignette pictures, right?
Yeah.
It didn't have a full project layout, grid, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I had full room shots on there at all. There was textures, it was moods. It was just trying
Okay.
to get a vibe out to my perfect client that this is what I'm about.
Okay. So what you're saying, in addition to specific, possibly vignette shots that feel aligned with the direction that you want to attract, you're just saying it doesn't need to be portfolio shots at all. There's other imagery that you used on your website that conveyed your aesthetic.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Textures, mood boards, clips, anything that I could use to say this is a little bit more about me and my
Okay.
design style.
Well, and the thing about it is it's logical, right? Like we might not necessarily automatically think of it as a strategy for a website, but it is exactly what you do when you do a design presentation, right? You don't pick every blasted last thing. You say, here's the mood of the living room that we're going to design for you. And here's a feeling of the sort of textures that would go in it. It might be this fabric. It might not be this fabric. It might be this stone. It might not be this stone. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Exactly,
Wow.
exactly. And I had, when I started out, I mean, I still to this day a little bit, have projects across all design genres. And I think that speaks a bit to my background. And I don't want to say I don't have a niche because I do have a niche, but I like to call it a little bit of a no niche niche. How many times can I say that fast? Because I do work across a lot of design genres, and you can see that through my portfolio to this day. The very first project I worked on, not photographed, is a mountain lodge in rural Michigan, full on log cabin, deer head over the fireplace, mountain lodge. Not my style, was not going to photograph that, but it paid the bills.
Yeah.
In that Yes era, I also worked on some like super classical spaces. And all the while, I just tried to be very conscious of building elements through these projects that were little bits of me that I could pull together very consciously, knowing I am working towards a Hannah Charlotte Interiors aesthetic. I'm just not there yet.
Okay. Okay. So two things that you said in there that intrigued me. The one is that no niche, but yet you also said you sort of do have, I don't, and this is what I don't remember. Did you say an ideal client, which, and then that supersedes the niche question, or did you say an aesthetic? So clear me up on, you're working across genres, but you actually do feel like you actually do have something that you would point to.
So I'd say my niche does land more in an ideal client space. Our ideal client is busy working professionals. They tend to be young families. They're moving into a new house, renovating an existing house or building from scratch. They want to add character into their space, and they want to rely on an expert to do that for them. We've kind of a 4-room minimum working across projects at the moment, but really excel at the full house scope.
Okay. So with this kind of, first of all, I love that you just rolled it off the top of your tongue, like the top of your head. These are the things, right? Like, because that is what's hard. It is getting to that clarity of, even when you're saying, they're renovating a space or building a new space. It's not necessarily, somebody could have all the other boxes and they're just not knocking one wall down. They're just redesigning. And so, not to say that you wouldn't say yes to that person, but if we're going to talk about like the actual perfect person that walks through the door, they're this demographic, the busy young professionals, they have a young family, they want to add character. That's another specific thing. They want to add character to a house. That's another specific thing that I love that you've identified. And they want a professional to manage it. And those could all be in place, but probably the builder reno could be out of place. And as long as they did the 4 rooms, it sounds like you'd probably take them, right?
Yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
really good
She's
fit for
looking at
us
me like,
still.
of course I would.
That'd be a great fit. If our schedule allowed, we would definitely take that.
Right, right. And that's what I love. It's funny because I've just been writing emails and copy all morning. And it's one of the things I said, and I just did a live sales training last week with our EW team. And I'm like, listen, we're looking to qualify people in, not qualify them out. Right? Like
Yes.
it means the same thing, but it really has a very different meaning. Right.
Yes.
And so I love this. And I often refer my chairman of the board clients, and when I meet designers in real life, I was just in Atlanta and I was talking about this at ASID Gathered, Alex Alonso's episode. I don't know. Have you listened to that episode, Hannah? Alex Alonso's episode? It's from several years ago.
Oh,
So
I might have.
yeah, it's a good one. And I refer people to listen to it often, and we'll put it in the show notes because he has this ABCD formula. And each of the letters stand for something, aesthetic, budget, I don't know, something and something. I don't know. It's deadline. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head. I said all of a sudden, I'm like, remembered everything, was known for remembering everything. And now all of a sudden it's all falling apart in front of my eyes, remembering only parts of things.
You got the AB. That's more than me.
But the thing about it is, and his lesson, it lines with what you were just saying here. It's like, now you were describing an ideal client. That's different than my criteria for a job. And maybe your criteria for a job is within, maybe 4 criteria within these ideal client clarifications would come across to that criteria. But the idea is when you hear him explain it, it's so flipping plain as day. And it is, I was doing research on it. IBM has the same thing. Like, this is a known business practice. Qualify clients in, not out. And his thing is if they hit 3 of the 4, they're doing the job. If they only hit 2 or only 1, they're not doing the job. Right?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes
It
total
does.
sense.
It
It's
does.
kind of
And
like your
so,
red flag capture.
yeah, except that it's based on actual thought as opposed to, well, that made me crazy and she said that and I didn't like that and he questioned my price. It's like, I'm sorry. You, like I say to my chairman of the boards all the time, just because somebody questioned your price doesn't mean they're not going to pay it. It just means they want to understand, do French fries come with the burger? That's all, right? Like, imagine every waiter, if you're like, do you get sides with that? That's it. You're not eating here. You expect sides? It's like,
Now I
I
want
just
French
wanted
fries.
to know, do I have to order them separately like a Cap Grill or do they all come like at Fridays? That's all I want to know. I'm happy to pay. Just tell me what the rules are.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the same thing
Exactly.
with our clients. It's like, so many times we assume the question is for the worst reason and not just for clarification, just asking, just wanting to
Yes.
know.
They
So,
just want to ask all the questions. We're the
yeah.
professional in the situation and we should be clarifying for that.
Exactly. So, okay, so this is your ideal client. And then, as far as an aesthetic is concerned, are you saying that if these things are in place, you'll do mountain house lodges or you'll do breezy coastal beach houses, you'll do pretty much anything? Or, in other words, and I don't mean to say like anything, like a bad penny, you show up wherever it is, but I mean, that's less important to you because you feel comfortable stretching design wise as long as these things are in place? Or talk to me about that, Hannah.
Yes, you actually hit the nail right on the head. So, and that speaks a little bit to my background. Before I started my firm, I was working as the head of interior design for a luxury multifamily architecture firm
Oh,
based out of Georgetown. And we designed humongous amenity space packages, apartments, rooftop decks, kitchen, like demonstration kitchens, beer gardens, like 150,000 to 300,000 square feet amenity packages
yeah,
all over the country. So each building was incredibly different because each building's target avatar of who is going to be living in this building and who's going to be paying these rent levels, they were completely different in every city we were designing a building. And I got to work hand in hand with architects as they were designing the outside and the sitescapes to then match the interiors. So I love stretching myself design wise, creatively. I love working in New Jersey and Michigan and New York and Maryland, and that all of those architectural styles are different, all of the neighborhoods are different, and then all of the clients are different. And we try to take such a personalized approach to the design that there's no way these interiors are going to look the same.
right, right.
Um, so I call my aesthetic more of an ethos than an aesthetic
Mm,
in terms of I have certain things design wise that I like to bring to every project that I think is our connecting thread, even if I'm connecting a beach house, a mountain lodge, a city bachelor pad, and a craftsman house in the suburbs.
I love this, Hannah. I love this. So tell me, what does that mean that you have a design? I understand the result of it, but what is a design ethos as opposed to a design aesthetic?
So to me, it is kind of the driving force um, that kind of helps us personalize the designs to the clients. So for me, it's that every space needs to be tailored to how the client lives day to day. I want to really understand when you walk in the door, where you're dropping your keys, where you're kicking your shoes off.
Mm,
If we're designing a living room, are you a percher? Do you need a wide armed sofa because you like to perch or sit crisscross applesauce? We need to know these things. And then we let the design spur from all of that fact finding. And I also believe so strongly in livable spaces. They can be absolutely magazine gorgeous, but it can't be a museum. I never
okay.
want a client to say, that is a looking chair. That is not a sitting chair. Um, so creating these like very polished, elegant spaces, but they're never precious. Um, and they feel curated. We like to mix periods, a little bit of vintage, mid-century, modern, and contemporary, no matter what the architecture or the design genre of the space is. That will dictate kind of the percentages of,
Mm,
how much vintage, how much modern, how much contemporary, but that mix will always be
interesting.
there in a space
Yes.
that I design, because I just think that helps bring character, and really ground a space. And then bringing in natural materials, natural textures, kind of earthy tones, anything I can do to kind of connect indoor and outdoor visually in a space, because I think that's just so grounding and just really good for the soul.
I got to tell you, you really have your stuff dialed in.
Thank you.
You do.
That's why I
I
wanted
am
to
like
talk about this.
super impressed. I really am. I think that many business owners, window treatment designers, whatever they are, website developers, whatever they are, I think that there is probably at least 50%, 60%, 70% of this is kind of in your head. Right? You would know it if you were pressed to say it. But the fact that for you, it's clear that it's so clear you've given it thought. I'm not just asking you a question off the top of your head and you're coming up with an answer. It's like, these are facts for you. I think that's what I'm really feeling and understanding, and I love it. I love it, Hannah, a lot.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It took a while, and a lot of conscious thought went into it from the start, because like I said, um, and my company is only 4 years old. So when I put myself on the baby designer to CEO scale, I still put myself at the very, beginning of that.
Yeah.
Um, but there was that yes era where I just said yes to everything. But how can I do this in a smart way to set myself up for success
Yeah.
down the road?
I love it.
And very, very early on, I made the conscious decision that my projects are not going to look the same. I'm not going to have the type of Instagram feed, um, portfolio page where you look at a project and you go, that's Hannah Charlotte Interiors. Like, I'm probably not going to come out with a home goods line, you know,
Mm,
and that's okay for what I want in my business.
yeah.
But my portfolio is not going to put me in that place, but that's
R-
fine. I made that decision.
Right, 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 right. And it's interesting because I have firsthand experience with, what you were talking about in your background with designing the amenity spaces. For probably 30 years, one of my major accounts was a property developer here in New Jersey and had properties all the way from Boston all the way down to the Carolinas. And we did all of the New York, all the New Jersey properties, but I did do the ones in DC and Boston and different things. And we they had someone else doing the apartment buildings, the interior, the apartment window treatments, but we were the ones who did the amenity areas. And so I always worked very closely with the design team for those projects because this building requires sleek roller shades, this building requires draperies, this building whatever. And really did see how that designer flexed her muscles based on, and she would often start the conversation. Luann, our target client here is 25 to 35-year-olds. The budget for these apartments are about $2,000 a month. So young, hip, easy, blah, blah, blah. And then like we'd be with a job in Manhattan or DC and we're like, okay, we're going for that next level professional. Maybe they're still single. Maybe they're, a couple, they're 35 to 40. They've got some dollar bills. Rent here is 3,500 to 5K. And, the yoga studio needs to be gorgeous. So we're going to need drapes. Like, you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it was
Yes.
very interesting. And that's such great, training, right, Hannah, to be pushed through all those paces.
It was, and it was really fun because we would go to the city, before there's a lot, it's dirt on the ground, and we
Yes.
would go to the city and walk around and put ourselves in those shoes, walk the neighborhood, and really draw inspiration from that first trip. But I was helping these developers come up they have the ideal avatar. They know the rent they want to charge. They know the floor plate. They know, this many 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, etc. But we're helping craft that message with
Yeah,
them.
the story that this is the place for you. When you walk in
Yes.
this neighborhood and you live here and you want to live in this building, this is your place, right?
Yes. And it's so fun developing that dream person and then designing for that imaginary dream person. And it's been even more rewarding taking those skills and designing for actual people and their
Yeah.
homes and getting to talk to them and watch them live in their spaces. Whereas with the apartments, it was, from afar. They're
Yes,
all moving
yes.
in. I don't live in
Yeah.
Nashville. I'm not talking to them every day.
Right, right, right. Yeah. And it's funny too, because I remember most of the time the point of view was, to your point, the avatar, who is the builder trying to, the developer trying to attract here, who is the area that we're pulling from, that are going to look at these apartments and evaluate to live in them or not. But I remember there was a push and pull of nailing that avatar, but still like, well, what if you are in this neighborhood and this exactly doesn't speak to you, and not alienating you? Because, you're still talking about, 500 different people are going to rent in here. They're not all just robots, the same exact person. So I remember it's an interesting challenge. And there was one time where the designer was like, I'm going for it. I know exactly who the person is that's going to rent this house, this apartment. And she went all the way, and the property developer owner came through, and he just looked at her. He goes, this is gorgeous, but no. It was done. It was installed. And he's like, take it apart. So again, she was heartbroken,
Oh
but
no.
she learned a tough lesson. You got to sell apartments.
You do. Well, the ones we
He's,
did most recently in DC right before COVID and right before I left and started my company, one building that was built on the old CSX rail yard site, and one building was literally inspired by luxury train travel. Like imagine
oh,
pulling up to a meeting of 21 bankers and firm heads and saying, we're designing this building as if it
oh my
was
God,
the Belmont
that's right.
luxury Orient Express train. And it informed our space planning. It informed, how we designed banquettes and lighting and um, just how the flow through the whole bill. I mean, I, I love getting that um, deep into those
Yeah,
inspirations and
yeah.
flexing that.
And
And
now
they
when
did
you
it. They built
bring
it.
that, they did. Oh, they saw your vision. That's great. And now when you do that for your direct consumer clients, it's the same thing, except you're one-on-one, getting all the way deep into somebody's individual family, their psyche. And like you said, how do they sit and watch TV? How do they, because it's true. I mean, silly things like that matter. What do you do with your keys when you come in? Like, and Vin and I live in the same darn houses, and we do completely different things with our keys. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
You have to understand it and plan for some growth. Like a lot of my clients have young kids, are planning for young kids. So we're future planning as well while we're coming through with these designs. But I want to know every little thing about how you live in these rooms. Because if I put a sectional down and you're like, no one ever actually kicks their feet up, it's a more formal space. That's not how we live in this room. Well, we didn't do our job right.
Right, right, right. Exactly, exactly. I love that. Now, go back to where you started with communicating. So now we're communicating as with between your website, your Pinterest, your social. Now you're communicating, I guess, two different things. One is trying to speak to and communicate with that ideal client avatar, the busy working professionals, young family, doing a renovation or building a new home, wants to add character, wants a designer to handle it, and a 4-room minimum. That's one thing you got to communicate. And the other thing that you got to communicate is your design ethos, tailored to day-to-day life. How do we sit in the chair? Spaces are livable, not museums. It's curated. It's mixed periods. No matter if you're modern or you're traditional, I'm going to mix your stuff up. Like sit down and relax, take a breath, right? And then, it's like, so, and connecting to nature was the last one that you did, bringing the outdoor in. So those are two very defined lists. I love them. And then, but what happens in real life in marketing? Do they mix around? Do you sometimes have a post or a blog post or a set of pictures that reflect one or the other? Like, how do you do that? Because throughout it, you're also saying, and I'll design for any aesthetic. Like you can't say that because that feels not nearly as specific as all of this does, right?
Yeah. So I think kind of what you're asking is like, how does my imagery kind of follow
Y-
along
Yeah.
with
How do you
these?
express this messaging in all the ways that you create imagery and copy?
So, um, and there's a couple different ways that we communicate with our clients, or potential clients. My Instagram and the copy and the verbiage that I try to use on my posts there. Only use my own images, and I was very conscious of doing that from the very start, even though I would love to have used other designers. Ask that aspirational post. I can't
Yeah.
blame other designers for doing that. I think if you give all the proper credit and you're trying to build and show who you want to be, I think that's really amazing. I made life a little harder for myself by not doing that.
Choosing not that to go that direction for
So
yourself.
I did vignettes, I did mood boards, I did hypothetical mood boards for clients I didn't
Mm,
even have yet. So I could pull color stories and materials that were for, dream rooms. I tried to document as much of the process, and so I didn't have to rely so fully on final polished, finished images. But I
okay.
did start photographing even smaller things like my own apartment. I got professionally photographed. My parents' condo was an early project for mine, of mine that I photographed, and started putting the shots of those spaces that I felt um, best communicated everything we talked about. Then we did monthly newsletters.
Mm,
And we put a little pause because we're reformatting them right now, but they're about to go live again in September.
mm.
And built my email list to send those out. And those would capture project process. So if I did, get a dream client pretty early on, I could talk all the way through, and send the newsletter out and talk and send renders and all sorts of things that could kind of, where the imagery could reflect my design ethos and get that in front of more people.
I love it. I love it. Now, how did you develop an email list? I mean, did you do a lead magnet? Did you say DM me if you want more? Like, how did you? Because I mean, that's one thing that people are like, I have 20 people on my email list. And by the way, you know what? I have a designer, one of my past COBs, that has about 30 people on her email list. And she sends a monthly newsletter to them. They pass it to their friends. She gets referrals. I mean, it doesn't matter how many you have, but how did you start getting your emails?
Yeah, and it's not a humongous list. I will say that it's maybe about 1,500
Okay, that's
people.
pretty big though.
And it was some past clients, from a little stint I did as a contract designer when I was first starting my firm, just to get some footing in understanding residential design because it's so incredibly different from
Mm,
commercial design. So I did some senior design contracting work. Um, I had a lot of connections to realtors. Um, and honestly, I talked a lot. I talk a lot. I was a bartender as while I was starting my firm, and I just talked. I
good
talked to
for
people
you. You could
all day
you,
long.
you got to
And
tell them, right? You got to tell them what you do and why you do it, right?
exactly. Well, bartending was how I got into this business. Weirdly enough, I was talking to someone at lunch who had a friend who was in commercial design. And he was like, "It sounds like what you're going to school for and what you're doing a project for sounds so much like what my friend does for his firm. Will you sit down and have a coffee with him?" And I sat down and had coffee with this guy who talked even more than me. And he gave me my first job in the industry. And then
Wow.
some of my best connections and referrals have been from people who were regulars on my bar
That's
here
awesome.
in the DC area. So
Oh my gosh.
just never know who's listening, who
That's
kind of
right.
overhears you
That's
say,
right.
"Oh, you're an interior designer. Oh my gosh."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's like in New York City, like all the waiters are actually actors, right? And so, I got a gig because there was a producer there or production assistant or whatever, and they heard that I blah blah blah.
Yeah. But I think I didn't fully answer the question, but yeah, I just brought email emails over as I could. And then as I started building clients, even from a consultation standpoint, or I collect emails as people fill out my inquiry form. Um, and I have a HCI experience guide as a lead capture
Okay.
as well.
And the newsletter, do you follow, is it a conversational, hi, it's my monthly conversation with you and here's a couple of paragraphs? Do you follow a format like, you know, every week, every month there's a, the good, better, best? I'm making crap up. You know what I'm saying? Like, are there features that are standalone that happen each month and it's plug and play, or is it a conversation? How do you approach it, Hannah?
It's a plug and play, and we have kind of 4 sections. One's kind of like what's happening now, what are we most excited about going on at the firm, whether it's, this beautiful design concept we're working on, whether it's, wow, we got our photos back from the shoot and you're my lucky people on my email list. Like, this is staying hush hush. It's not even allowed on my website or social media, but here's a little sneak.
Oh, fun.
Um, and then we have a section where we talk about some sort of tip or any sort of advice I can give seasonal. That one kind of rotates a bit.
Okay.
Here's something you can do for spring. I'm not particularly a blogger. I don't come from a copywriting background. I have a company that helps me, and they send in some prompts, and I flesh it out with stuff
Good.
that speaks to me. And then we just want to talk about something beautiful or something exciting. In DC, we have so many amazing museums and so many just incredible things going on that are related to the arts. Um, so whatever I can talk about that's relevant, something that's coming up. Cherry blossom season's always a fun newsletter
Okay.
because we can pull in, or maybe it's something zeitgeisty like the Barbie movie came out and we did an entire newsletter about the history of the Barbie dream house. And
Oh.
here's, some gorgeous pink rooms. Here's some inspiration. Here's how to bring subtle pops of pink into your house if
Oh,
you're not
fun.
willing to like dive right in. That was kind of our tips. And then at the bottom of every newsletter, we hype up a service that we offer.
Oh, tell me about that.
Um, it's just, if you haven't heard, this is our full service design. This is our bread and butter. Or maybe you just need a consultation. You can book me for, a 2-hour consultation if you're just kind of thinking about a project and you don't know. So we rotate that
Okay.
through at the bottom of every newsletter.
I
Just keep
love
it
that.
top of mind.
Yep, yep. And do you, at this point, do you track where your leads come from, your new clients come from, and do would you say that, the most are coming from referrals, or they're coming out of the newsletter, or they're coming from Pinterest or Instagram? Do you track that, Hannah?
I do, and we are very heavily referral based.
Okay, good.
Very heavy referral based. But we were featured recently in Home and Design magazine as
Mm.
part of their 2025 Hot Talent class,
Oh, wow.
along with 4 other really incredible designers, and that actually was a big bump in inquiries that came
Mm.
through from that. And happy to say we have 2 so far repeat clients coming around a second
Oh,
time.
nice. Okay. That's good. I mean, in only 4 years, that's great.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Yeah. So they're just continuing on beyond the initial 4 rooms that they did and moving into different parts of their house or different apartments or locations for them. What kind of things?
So one client came back to do a rooftop terrace project on top of, we had done her whole main floor and primary bedroom. And so we're just kind of going room by room to finish off the rest of the spaces. And one was a bachelor pad project and is no longer bachelor, no longer has outgrown said bachelor pad and moving on to a really beautiful big house.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's very good. Okay. Well, I love all of these tips. I think I guess should ask in the weeds about the newsletter. You mentioned that you have an external media team, social media team or something. And so are they just are you having a weekly or a monthly phone call where you're fleshing out the ideas and you're expressing your thoughts and your opinions, and then they're putting it into writing and you're reviewing and editing, or like how does that process work? Because to your point, you said you're like, look, you're not a copywriter. A lot of people will stop and be like, I can't write a newsletter. Like I can't do that. So how does your process work for that?
Yeah, so we have a Google Brain dump folders where we dump all the images and some ideas. They like to poke me with some ideas, then I build on them or reply back. Well, actually, I was thinking, I am coming back from a trip from Paris this month. Like, I think maybe this one could be more travel, and we try to think 2 to 3 months ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I give them kind of like a one-liner per section. This is the core of what I want to get across in this
Gotcha.
section. And then they flesh that out completely. I drop in images, and the really incredible graphic design team that did my branding and my website. Little plug for her if I am allowed to.
Sure.
Melissa Heron's design.
Okay.
She is really spectacular. She goes in and she makes it look spectacular.
Wow.
Um, and then
Okay.
the copywriting team, they're Argyle is the company. They go in, they finalize it all, and they send it out.
Love it. If you want to work with high end clients, you need to be high end yourself, right? Guess what? Top firms know this. Studio McGee, Corey Damon Jenkins and Associates, and other leading interior designers don't just rely on mood boards and sketches. They use top tier renderings to bring their visions to life, because when clients can see the full picture, they say yes faster with fewer revisions and more confidence. If you're still piecing together inspiration images from samples, hoping clients get it, it's time to level up your presentations. High quality renderings elevate your brand, streamline your workflow, and help you close better and bigger projects. Want to present like the best in the industry? See why top designers trust Duke Renders. Go to dukerenders.com/Luann to learn more. Love it. You can't do it all. You can't do it all, right? Like
No, and I
you're
don't
out
want
designing
to.
the rooms, managing the clients, managing the trades. It's like, but this idea of giving your one liner, your core idea, your point of view, that resonates with me. We function very much the same way here. It's like, what do you think about this, Lou? Well, sit down, have a seat. I just word vomit to you what I think about this thing.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of it in actual English. Thank you. Or, nope, you missed the point. The nuance is this. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, I get it. That's why you do this for a living and we do, social media for a living. We didn't get that nuance. That's what I find a lot of times is the business lesson nuances is different. And I'm like, that's not the point, right? But
Yes.
but we all get there, and we get there with help. I don't need to do everything, right?
No, and I think passing off things that I was sitting and dreading writing this myself on a monthly basis, and I was putting it off until the last minute every single month. And that just means to me I shouldn't do it.
That's
That
right. Like, see the
if
writing
my
on the
time
wall,
can
sweetie.
be
We don't want to do this.
better spent, more efficient, if I can put some billable hours towards a project and pass this off, all the better.
Yeah, I love it. So, Hannah, there's so many things that you're doing so well and so intentionally in such a short period of time in your business. Is there anything that comes to mind that has particularly stumped you, or has been a difficult, like, and maybe it's a challenge that you haven't figured out the answer to yet, and you're still kind of like putzing with it and trying to get around it, or something that was hard and you conquered it to the point of your business where you are now? Anything come to mind there? I'm like, like you said, if you're 4 years in, you could still consider yourself the baby designer, right? To some extent, but you're transitioning out of that. It's clear to me that you are, but putting yourself into the seat of somebody listening that's like, oh, I'm you 3 years ago, right? Like anything come to mind?
I'd say fees. Not that this is something a bag that I really want to open 100%.
Fine with me.
Um, but as my team grows, And we're staying small. I'm doing that intentionally. I'm still, growing my small family, and I'm not quite ready to be the like mega CEO boss lady of a huge team yet. But as my team grows and our roles, we wear a lot of different hats, but as we're kind of firming up how we work together, I have an associate designer and I have a procurement manager, and just coming to estimating fees, because I know really, really well how long something takes me to do, but
Yes.
figuring out how long it takes someone else to do, and also my part in checking their work and overseeing it, maybe sending some red lines and some edits back, and then getting that work back, factoring all of that in, still challenging to this day,
Mm.
figuring out where we need to be falling in a way that the marketplace and my dream client, I'm still where I need to be for them, and being profitable for myself.
Mm. Do you have the people on your team track their hours?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So what I'm hearing is the challenge isn't actually so much in knowing how long it takes. It's figuring out the right pricing around it that feels like something you can command and still make money and still get a yes.
that, and how can we be a little bit more efficient as
Ah,
our team's roles are firming up, right? Because we're
gotcha.
still restructuring some processes as I go from doing it all myself
Yeah.
to having just a junior designer to
Yeah.
having an associate designer and someone handling procurement.
Mm.
Um, so that's all shifting, and I think it always kind of shifts a little every
Yeah.
time you bring someone new on to take a little off my plate. How is my role changing and all of that, and does my fee still make sense
Yeah. Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
all of that?
It's funny because that is one of the, I mean, when I look back, running our businesses all these years, those transitions have always been some of the most challenging times, other than flat out recessions and things that, you're just like, are you kidding me? Okay. But I would say the next um, big challenge, I think, is that transition time where you go from 1 to 3, or from 2 to 4, or 3 to 7, or 7 to 12, or 12 to 20. It's that consistent. Okay, how do we do it now that there's more people involved, and who's going to do what, and figuring out who does something better than somebody else. Maybe that, to your point, whether it's you or a team member used to do 4 things, but when you grow, that team member now is better. Your whole process is better served if that person only does 2 things. But have I taken the wrong 2 things off of somebody's plate before? Yeah. Like, you were a rock star. Why can't you get anything done right now? Oh, I took the 2 things that you weren't that great at, and left them on your plate, and took the things that you did in your sleep and gave them to somebody else. Right. So it's,
And it's
it's,
such a balance. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's such a balancing act in that, with my associate designer, I want her to learn and grow and try things that she's not good at, but she has things that she's absolutely a rock star at and amazing at, and I don't want to just give her those. As a business manager, business owner, I do want to just give her those, right? That the bottom line, that's incredible. If I can only give her the things that she can just knock out of the park and knock it out so fast. But as a human being and a boss and a friend, I want her to grow and be challenged every day at work.
for the actual safety net of your business too. Then because, like, when you say that, I think about installers at window works. And we've had installers that are strictly inside installers or outside installers, but who's the installers that are most valuable to us? Ones that can do inside and outside. They are the ones that, no matter who is sick today or who isn't coming in, that you can move that installer on or off a job. But to your point, really giving somebody the adequate time to train, cross train inside or outside, is time consuming on the business, and it eats dollar bills. But that's one of those investments as opposed to expenses. But that is what I'm saying about the growth and the transitions through your business. It's, you know, foot on the brake, foot on the gas, foot on the brake, foot on the gas. Okay, invest in cross training. No, okay, just get things done. You have to be leaner, and it's this push and pull in addition to establishing the accountability in the new roles and establishing what do you oversee and what do you say. Hey guys, I need you to be the final say on that particular thing. It's so crazy because I find that as soon as I'm like, oh, I don't need to see that, you guys decide, and then like 3 weeks later I'm like, who the heck said okay to this? And they're like, because usually I'm like, did I say okay to this? And they're like, that was the one you said for us to decide. And I'm like, oh, well, good shot, good try. Like, but
we'll get him next time.
Yeah, let's just tweak it this way.
Oh, it's so hard letting go of things being exceptionally type A.
It's crazy. It's funny. I was talking to you off air about the Power Talk Friday that we're having in High Point this October 24th, 2025. And this is a lot of what we're going to be talking about. It's like, where are you at now? Where are the challenges that are coming ahead? And let's fix where you are. Let's make a path for where you're coming, and the different levels of the business and the different, the CEO mindset, the sales mindset. Because when you grow and you add one or two people, you still want to be selective. You still want to do the jobs that light you up, but you have bills to pay now. And so it can't just be red flag, not taking that job.
The yes era doesn't end 100%.
No, ma'am, the yes era does not end. That's a great way to put it. It gets different. It gets clearer. What it is the yes without clarity. Right. That's the era that you want to end. Right. But the yes era doesn't end. I mean, I talk about it on the window treatment podcast all the time because I will meet window treatment professionals that are like, oh, we don't come out for one window anymore. And I'm like, you know what? I got to tell you, 80% of the time, one window turns into a whole room or a whole house. Like, please do not. Like, now, am I going to go from New Jersey to the Hamptons for one window? Nah, probably not, right? But am I also going to take into consideration, why did this person even call me from 3 hours away for one window? There's a reason there, whether it's something compelling on the social that made them call, or it's a referral. Like I think we were saying it, I don't know if you're saying it on or off air at this point. See, it's all going, Hannah. I want it all back. I want my brain entirely back. But we were talking about qualifying in, not qualifying out, right? And I might still not go all the way to the Hamptons for one window, but it's not going to be, oh, you're in the Hamptons and just one window, sorry, bye. Right. And so that's how the yes era changes, because in 1982, we probably been like, yeah, let's make a day trip to the Hamptons to sell one wood blind for $300. It's like our only sale for the week. Let's go. We'll have lunch. So the shifts in the business, right? They come and they go and they change. But I think the big thing that I'm hearing about your conversation, Hannah, is that you have really taken the time to put so much effort into getting clarity on the things that are the things that will make this feel right for you, right? And that's a part that a lot of people, they skip that step. And so I really congratulate you for doing that hard work.
Thank you. And I think there's just something to be said about having all of that as part of my sales pitch going into new clients. I wanted that clarity for myself, but I also wanted it because potential clients are like, well, we see you did a modern condo, you did a classic, very vintage Asian inspired, this, that, or the other thing, and we saw you do this. Can you do mine? Like,
right.
And there's a little uncertainty there, and I have to work just a little bit harder because I made that choice to work across the design genres to make that sale on the front end. And how can I do it?
Do you then go into all of that really, do you go into, here are the types of people that I like to work with, that, and here's the design ethos and my background informs this? Do you, in your conversation, do you touch on all three of these areas? Because together they all make sense to me if I hear them. So is that what you do, Hannah?
So I don't bring up this is my ideal client. Are you a young working professional?
Right,
Are you
right.
busy? But I find that
Talk
out
about it.
through the vetting
Yeah,
process, through my inquiry form, through my discovery call, kind of just a nice little safeguard. So I know if I'm going out for a consultation, I'm not necessarily wasting my time. I've already kind of gone through 2 vetting steps before
right,
that. That's where I figure out, are they in that ideal client sphere?
right.
And then it's really about what happens, on the discovery call towards the end on the salesy side of it, and at the consultation to really bring home the client and get them to sign that proposal.
I love it. I love it. I love it a lot. Um, Before I let you go, I want to spend a few minutes learning about the experience of doing the Mansion in May in New Jersey. So that was your first time doing a show house, Hannah?
That was my first time doing a show house.
Will you ever
And
do a show house again, my love?
you know what? I think I love their timing that it's every other year because it gives you a little bit of a break, but I definitely would. It was
Yeah,
just a really incredible experience. The people I met, the people that I worked with, the cause that it was raising money for, was so near and dear to my heart. Getting to travel and getting to pull a room together, it was like going back to my roots where I created the inspiration. I created the dream person that was going to sit in this room and enjoy it, versus designing for other people.
yeah.
So it was really, really just tremendously fun.
So I know that we at Window Works did the window treatments for it and stuff, but I didn't see it. So tell me, who was that person you were designing for? What room did you have, and what did you end up doing?
So we had the breakfast room. It was
Oh,
this.
I just, as soon as you said that, I remembered that picture, and I was like, could you not do draperies there? Remember,
Yes, yes.
did
We
you
had
end up
that really,
switching to
really
the shades?
awkward
I think
ledge.
I
We
said,
we switched to the shades.
okay, good.
That
I
was
do remember that
a
now.
perfect injunction. Thank you so much, Luann. Um, It was a soaring double high ceiling space, coming off of, a pretty low height, kitchen space. So it had this
Yeah,
kind of magnificent, like, ha kind of
yeah, yeah.
moment. We had skylights. We just had so much beautiful, beautiful natural light, and we had a little coffee breakfast bar. So kind of, I envisioned this space as somewhere like a world traveler comes home and they want to be just in an incredibly peaceful place. And we designed it. We did this gorgeous, lush, row green velvet, their beautiful Madeline sofa
Mm,
as our dining settee, actually at a dining table, with some vintage chairs and a vintage marble, tea cart that kind of could serve. We just imagined, um, you have a cup of coffee, you pick up a book, maybe you're sitting and you're getting some work done, but you just had gorgeous garden views,
mm.
and um, just felt like you were outside on a terrace, but you were
Yes,
inside.
yes.
All the beautiful, amazing visuals of being outside, but none of the bug bites.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah. That's great. That's great. I think that's awesome. I mean, the pace of the show house is no joke, right?
It kicked my butt just a little bit. We had a chandelier custom made come in from Canada, just pre-tariff, and it was bananas how big this fixture was, and it came in broken. And the way it works is your install appointments, because there's 40 other designers installing their rooms, you have a very set date that
Yep.
this is the day your truck can bring all of your things, and that is the day that your trades need to come and install the things. And so you really have to be on your time management. This is the delivery, then we have the electricians, then we have the furniture installers, and then the carpet. Well, that should have been way at the beginning, the carpet, but you
Yeah.
get my gist.
Yes.
And the chandelier came broken, and the show was going to open in a week and a half,
Oh my God.
and the electricians were like, we really don't want to get back up on this ladder, you have 20-foot ceilings.
Oh
But
my
we
gosh.
cannot, in good faith, hang this chandelier, thinking that the bottom rung was about to fall off of a
Oh
three-tiered
gosh.
chandelier.
Oh my gosh.
And it was such a statement piece. And I spent the rest of the day searching every single lighting manufacturer that we work with on a regular basis. So look, what strings can I pull? What quick ship? Can you
Right.
like pull this off of a showroom floor for me? How
Yes.
do I get this fixture? a new fixture, totally different fixture.
Yes.
Um,
That the room has been designed around this statement piece.
into my space, and there was just no way. They had a 3-month custom lead time. They wanted us to ship the fixture back to Canada to see if it could be fixed first
Oh,
instead of just
yeah.
making us a new
And we'll
one,
pick
and I
it
was
up
like,
in
"Yeah,
2 years
no,
from
yeah."
now. Don't worry about it. We'll put it in the next show house.
No, and I won't throw the brand under the bus because they are generally really great to work with, and we've never had a problem like this from them before. I
Mm,
think it was just a humongous,
yeah.
humongous fixture, but it really, when you only have a week and a half to get, until preview day, and you don't
Now
have a
you're going out to
chandelier.
Capitol Lighting, looking around the displays. Can I take that
Um,
one down, right?
I will give Hudson Valley Lighting a little plug here because they really saved my butt
Oh, good.
on that one and got me a gorgeous, gorgeous fixture that I talked about it a lot. It was such a happy accident. It turned out to be so perfect for the space.
You know what? That kind of thing happens all the time. I swear to goodness. I swear to goodness that happens all the time. I can tell. I can tell. It got to the point in when I was selling custom window treatments, like, because really it would always be the search for the fabric, right? And when we were designing window treatments retail, we're not often designing with a blank slate room, right? So it's like, I've already gotten my furniture, I've already gotten my art, I've already gotten my thing. And now you just come in here in the end and trying to make this puzzle piece fit backwards and make it all, work. And so you sometimes are really down this major rabbit hole of trying to find the right print, pattern, color, scale, texture, type of fabric for the type of window treatment you're doing that also already goes into a room that's built. It's just like you with this lighting fixture, right? And I can, there's probably at least 5 times across the 4 decades that really stick out in my memory of, oh my God. Like that show house moment, except without the deadline, right? Just the major disappointment. Somebody's writing a check. They're ready to write the check, or they have finally written a check. And now you order the fabric and, the computer said there was 42 yards, but there's 39. And you can't make it with 39 yards. And the 39 yards are in 14 different cuts. So you definitely can't make it out of that jigsaw puzzle. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're just like talking to your rep going, your computer had bad information. Sorry. Oh, great. Okay. Well, then
That
I'll just
helps.
fix it. Yeah. And, but I have to tell you, every time the fabric that we would end up with, whether it took a day or a month, every time me and the consumer were like, oh my God, this is so much better. And I would be like, I searched our entire showroom and didn't find this other one. This one didn't speak to me. How come I found it now? Right. It was almost felt like, why didn't I find this the first time? But it got to the point where I got so accustomed to, the next one's going to be better, that I would still have to play the game of how painful it was, even though I knew at some point we were going to be like, this is so much
This is
better.
the
Yeah,
perfect
because
thing
if you
shows
just
up.
tell the consumer that at the gate, they're like, I'm sorry, that's stupid. Like, you just
second one
told
is
me,
always
yes,
better.
last week when I wrote the check, this was the perfect fabric. And I'm like, I know, but the universe takes care of us in these situations. I don't know why.
It does, and it
But
did.
it
It
does.
did.
It really does sometimes. Isn't
And
that
with a
funny?
20-foot ceiling,
Uh,
there was very few perfect solutions to be had. So
That's right. Right. And then timing, like you said, it's like, there's the electricians that day, not a different day. Yeah. It's a particular unusual joy of the industry doing a show house, I have to say.
it was, yeah, absolutely. And then we stand in what's unique about this one is you stand in your space a
Yes.
lot,
Yes.
and you talk to everyone walking
Which I'm a
through.
big advocate of.
And I really loved that. I had a really open space. It was really central. People actually passed it twice. So I
Oh,
got to say hi to people
nice.
twice. So that was just really gratifying
Yeah.
because you get that amazing feedback,
Yes.
on a
Yeah.
daily basis. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, thank you.
I've had
The room's
designers
beautiful. Oh, thank you.
right? You feel you get your like your dopamine shots. Yay,
Yes,
I'm great.
every
I'm great.
time.
I'm great. That's great. It's like the dogs banging the thing. Give me more. The rats.
Tail wag.
Exactly. But I've had designers reach out to me and say, can you help me strategize? Am I ready to do a show house? Should I do the show house? What do you think about this show house? And one of the questions I always ask is, are you going to be in the house? Like, because if you're just going to do a house and you're going to show up, like if it's open for 20 days and you're going to show up for 5 of the days, don't bother. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your money, because that's not how you're going to connect with that end consumer that's walking through the house. Your design isn't going to speak for itself. Because here's the thing, if everybody needed just their design to speak for themselves, maybe. But 95% of the smart designers are going to show up and be there. And now all of a sudden, you're not really talking about the design anymore, because half the clients, they're going to admire your design, but they're going to be like, but I don't want that in my house. Like that's a little too creative or too out there. Like that's not the point to take that design home. It's to show your chops, to show your skill and dimension and scale and proportion and combination of color and texture and ideas, right? And that's where, the conversation is the clincher, right, for meeting the consumer and possibly getting that lead as a potential new job, right?
Exactly. And that's why it was kind of a perfect microcosm for what we're talking about today a little bit, right? Like I was seriously flexing my design muscles on that room. Um, I was designing for myself and this dream person. But yes, this design is not just going to copy and paste itself into potential clients' homes, but the ethos that was there, the connection to nature, the mix of periods of pieces, the layering of textures and patterns, everything that I talk about in my experience guide. Um, that I talked about when people were walking through the space. I could point these things out and really, um, that was what we were talking about, is
That's
how
awesome.
can we take these little elements from this room if this room isn't you, and it shouldn't be, you're different than me.
Right.
What are
Right.
we taking from this room? What about this room speaks to you? And how can we make that the focus of your space?
Oh my goodness, I love it. I just love it. I have to say, if I run into you, and of course you're local enough, if I run into you in 5 years from now, and you're not completely blown up, I will be like, "What did you do? How did you mess that up?" Because you are just, you just have it. You just have this foundational base that's so critical, right? Next layer is process and systems and money. Maybe you have that down, maybe you don't. We didn't even get to it, but even when you have process and system and money down, if you don't have this part, this clarity, what are you actually talking to a consumer about, how you deliver? And it's so funny because do you know how many times I'm like, you need to know what your point of view is. You need to know what your quote unquote or Fred Burns only is, back from the first 2 years of the podcast. And people are like, I just don't know what it is. And I'm like, it isn't always a big thing. It's just clarity on this, what makes you happy in doing what you're doing, right? It's almost seems as simple as that, but it does take that reflection, right, Hannah, to hone down to it with clarity.
It does. And it doesn't happen right away. So if
No.
you're in your first year and you're saying yes to every little thing because you're paying the bills and you're starting a company, and first off, amazing. So proud of you.
Yes.
But look back. What about
Yeah.
those projects made you excited about being a designer? Is there a thread that you can connect between your projects that felt like this is you really shining through, and build on that?
Yes. I love that advice. That's so good. My goodness, I have to tell you, I love this conversation, Hannah. I really, really did. I appreciate you so much sharing all of this with everybody today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been just a joy being able to share why I love doing what I do.
I think Hannah has it really figured out, doesn't she? She understands that clarity isn't something that just happens to you. She understands you have to work for it, you have to think about it, and then communicate it consistently. And what I loved about Hannah's story is how she approached that yes era. Instead of just hoping the right clients would find her, she got strategic. She used her apartment and her parents' condo as portfolio pieces, but not because she didn't know how to charge, but to have a clear purpose and timeline to create the content she needed. That's working smart, not working for free out of desperation. I hope you also caught how Hannah thinks about portfolio imagery. Maybe the entire room isn't something that screams, call me for more of this kind of design, but there's always an angle, a vignette, an element that captures those little pieces of her design that have become her signature. She focuses on communicating her design ethos through whatever imagery she has, whether it be textures, mood boards, even hypothetical rooms for clients she hasn't even met yet. Hannah's ideal client definition also impressed me. Busy working professionals, young families wanting to add character to the space through renovation or new construction. I mean, she rattled that off like it was second nature. And that clarity allows her to feel comfortable stretching design-wise across different styles because in there, the core, she knows exactly who she's talking to, right? Okay, so where is it? Busy working professionals, young families, here's the bonus part, wanting to add character to their space through renovation or new construction. You see, take a broad demographic, but then narrow it all the way down. That is some magic right there. So go look at your one-liner. Does it do that? Because that's how it should work, okay? I also love how she's organized her marketing and imagery strategy, from her newsletter to how she builds her email list by actually talking to people. She was bartending also while she started her firm. And you know what? She figured out a way to turn every conversation into an opportunity because you never know who's listening when you talk about what you do. I mean, how impressive that this whole opportunity came from one of her regular customers. Hannah's also refreshingly honest about the challenges she's facing now as her company grows. Figuring out pricing when you're not the one doing all the work yourself anymore. Learning how to delegate. These are growing pains. These are real live growing pains. Okay. And honestly, it's why it's so important that you have to get your operations and your systems dialed in. And if you are struggling with that, make sure that you are on the email list for when Lou University is in session, and be sure when we open again to check out Stacey Davidson's course, Introduction to Strategic Project Management at Luann University. We will link that in the show notes. Now, the experience for Hannah with the mansion in May show house, that was pretty funny too, right? From the broken chandelier crisis to being on site to talking with the visitors about her design ethos. This is exactly how you need to show up, and it's what you need to consider when you're talking to your clients. Not just the design elements you chose, but as she said, how you think about design and how you bring those ideas into your specific design. That's what she was talking about. That's smart, right? The bottom line is that Hannah took the time to get clear on what she stands for and who she serves. And that foundation is allowing her to build a sustainable business. So whether you're starting out or you've been in business for years, think about this intentional thinking and how it separates the businesses that will actually, just go on and on versus succeeding sustainably with joy and profitability for years to come, right? That's the difference. Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. You have given us tons to think about, and we appreciate you. And thank you for showing up today. I appreciate you too. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.